Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to another predictions and speculation on Star Wars Lads. We are talking about episode 11 of The Bad Batch, season 2, Metamorphosis. We're going to dive into everything we think Metamorphosis means, who we think might be in this episode, what we think might happen, and how we think it will lead to the rest of season 2. But before we do so, please hit that like button down below. Subscribe to our channel. We're trying to get to 1,500 subs here as soon as possible. So if you are watching this video and you haven't subscribed, we do this type of stuff all the time, prediction, speculation, and we will be doing this for Mandalorian. So if you want to see more content like this, make sure you're subscribed. Also, hit that like button. Help us get the 35 likes on this video. And a comment below, let us know what you think will be happening in episode 11, Metamorphosis. So right off the bat, Metamorphosis, completely different title than we've really gotten before. We've gotten like one-word titles like The Crossing or The Retrieval, I guess 2 words, but with an article. We've also gotten Faster. We've gotten Buried. There are a lot of very simple titles that, as much as we get grand with our predictions, are exactly what you think they are going to be. And we hit the nail again on the head last week with Retrieval being about retrieving the ship. So I guess we got that one right. But Metamorphosis is a very different type of word and a very, really completely different sounding title. Like it's unlike anything we've seen. It describes, right, like a change going on, not just an event that's going to happen in the next episode. And so for me, the first thing that came to my mind for sure when seeing that was Crosshair. Crosshair has now been absent from the show for 8 episodes straight, and we have not seen him since episode 3. He was not involved in the mid-season episodes at all. I think this has to go back to Crosshair. It really does. Sanak, what do you think Metamorphosis means, and do you think it is related to Crosshair?
I do think Metamorphosis is related to Crosshair. This definitely feels like one of the first episodes where my grander prediction can truly work out here. I know last time I said you can find some little bit of meaning between that, like the retrieval and all that, and there was a little bit with the crossing, not necessarily with the retrieval as much as I'd like to, but metamorphosis sounds like a very tangible word for people. It's like, for me, I think of like the Kafka book, right? I was like, oh yeah, that story of like it's very disturbing change of a man and like what he's going through and all that. So that really feels like an inspiration for what could be happening here. I would like Metamorphosis in the ideal world to deal with Crosshair and his change and his evolution into becoming a little bit more than just jaded against the Bad Batch and also jaded against the Empire. I'd like to see what comes out of that. I'd like to see the metamorphosis of him, but also the metamorphosis of the clones, right? Maybe we get to see get into something very dark and disturbing of like how I think a couple of episodes ago I predicted maybe in the mid-season finale the clone conspiracy was actually about like some mutation or something being changed to them. And I'd like to see something, to build off of like the believers, the assassin believer from those episodes. And maybe in some way we're getting to see how whatever remaining clones there are, whether by choice or not by choice, they're being dramatically changed in their personality, even some of their abilities, and just things that are happening in mutations. Like I'd love to see something like very body horror almost go with these characters, and I think if you really want to get really tied into like EU, maybe that could be like the first phase of like the Dark Troopers, right? That could be really something cool if you want to go there. And then kind of continuing with this ideal path, I'd like to also see these 2 episodes that we've got in this mini arc with the Bad Batch. Now you're like, all right, let them spread their wings, let them become like the butterfly that started as a caterpillar, went into that cocoon, and now is okay. It's flying out here. It's really changing, and maybe that means they land at Sid, and they're like, "Screw you, Sid! Like we're done with you." And then they're like, "Fee, we might call you once or twice, but don't expect us to just transfer over to you and stuff like that." And I'd like to see them maybe like, let's see if we can actively reach out to a Rex or to a Cody or someone else, right? Before they come to us. I'd love to see Omega continue to flourish as a bit more of a active member instead of just a tag along. Having her not just like be like, oh guys, we should do this. Be more like, I respect what you're saying, but we have to consider this, isn't it? Like maybe fill in a little bit of that echo, maybe fill in a little bit of that crosshair. all these little things that have been missing with that group dynamic. What can they replace with their overlap? What can they create that's completely new? I'd love all those storylines to be covered in the next episode and just cut in between all of them. Most likely that's not happening. I'm being idealistic, and I think the name at least lends itself to something more creative of a story than what we've gotten so far. But if there's anyone who's going to have it change, it's going to be Imperial focus, Crosshair focus. We'll see. I'm excited to go back to characters, but that we haven't seen in a while. But I also want the Bad Batch to take these small steps and make it into something really strong, really tangible, very different from what a lot of their groundwork was laid out in season 1.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree there. I think we need a metamorphosis in this show in like basically every department.
Oh yeah,
Animation
is great. Animation is great, but
great.
yeah.
But the Bad Batch storyline, we need to know where that's going, how that's connecting to the world. We want to catch back up with Echo and Rex, and we definitely want to catch back up with Crosshair, because Crosshair, even when he wasn't with the Batch, which, you know, he didn't really he made contact with the Batch at the beginning of season 1, in the middle of season 1, and at the end of season 1. He didn't really make contact with them ever in the middle, or the like between those like first 8 episodes and 8 through 16 episodes. So I'm not begging for a Crosshair to be with the Bad Batch and doing stuff with the Bad Batch. I just want to see what Crosshair is doing. And we left on such a cliffhanger with episode 3 of like Cody went AWOL, which I'm still not 100% convinced Cody went AWOL, that he wasn't just killed. So I'd love to pick up that story to at least know that Cody is alive or captured by the Empire and imprisoned or something. But we get that off screen, so like that already begs the question of like, okay, who's telling the truth and who's not? But we're also, it's that moment is framed for a Crosshair reaction, which we don't get in that episode. So you're like, okay, it's coming to episode 4. Nope, it's coming to episode 5. Nope, it's at least coming in the midway point of the season. Nope. So, okay, where is it? When are we getting it? I want it to be next episode, because I feel like as we get into our final 6 episodes of the season, 2 of them are going to be 2-part finale. So it really only leaves 4 episodes to build up to that. That finale most likely won't start new plot points. It will probably pick up from things that we've already started or built towards. So in my opinion, you would need these next 4 episodes to set our characters in a direction, whether one of them could be built off the Bad Batch, one of them could maybe be built off the Senate stuff, because that was such a big part of randomly kind of this season. And if we don't pick back up with it, I feel like that would be a missed opportunity, especially because the legislation that is going to be giving the clones rights or not giving them rights is basically up for debate. And this whole season has been kind of a push towards the future of the clones. We destroyed the clones' home last season. This season, we are setting them off in a new direction, and we're ultimately, I think, this season's not going to end with us knowing what happens to the clones, but this season's going to end with us in a direction of like, okay, the Empire is like full blown wanting to wipe out all clones, or either they're like, we don't care, you're a nuisance to us, and you guys can just go your separate way for politics and image reasons. But then maybe the clones decide eventually to kind of fight back. We're going to have a conflict with the clones and the Empire at some point. But it would be nice to see what Cody's disappearance is with Crosshair in this next episode, or what is Crosshair doing? Like, Rampart sends him on a mission at the end of episode 3. What is it? Rampart's in prison. I think that's the next character and topic I want to bring up to you, Sanak, is like, could this also be pointing toward Rampart? Could we get Crosshair and Rampart in this season? I don't think either of us, and I don't think most people watching the show, believe that Rampart is just in prison now that Palpatine said so, and he's just done. We're never going to see him again. He was the main villain of the show for 1.5 seasons. Like, we definitely have to at least know what happened to him. He's not just going to be gone forever. I'm really hoping that we don't do the Agent Callus story. Like, just because it's too similar, and I already feel like the show at times gets too similar to Rebels. I don't want to see Rampart become a rebel or join the clones now because he was against the clones. I don't really want to see that. I want to see him double down and try to be even more useful for the Empire, and maybe cost himself his own life because he's like too crazy obsessive about proving himself to the Emperor again. Or maybe, be that wild card that like Cyril never was and just go after the Emperor, get your revenge, but like don't become a good guy. I don't want to see Rampart become a good guy. And I love the Callus arc. I think that worked great in that show, but I don't want to see that again. So, Sanak, any thoughts on whether you think Rampart could be in this next episode, or maybe a future episode, maybe 12 or 13 or even 14 could be about Rampart before we get into the finale?
Oh, I think he'll be back. I'm not sure if he'll be back next episode because you can still focus a very imperial perspective and a very much personal perspective on Crosshair without needing him. I mean, you've done it before with him interacting with like the elite human recruits and whatnot, and while he was chasing down Saw Gerrera. So it's very much a viability for him to not be part of the story. But I think it would fit pretty well. I want to say it fits more of as like a tag. I think we've been building up this. I mean, the whole thing of like Mount Tantus coming back. That's such a specific, and with Wayland, that's such a specific thing that you don't just show off in like 2 full episodes of the Bad Batch and then just say, "Yeah, I mean that was like a cool thing that we visited, but that's it." No, I don't believe that for 1 second. Like you said, he is our main villain, but we don't really know him. He's someone who's like very like his face is a mask, right? We see his actions, his behaviors. He says some things in the mid-season finale about like, of course, like things will go our way, but there's nothing really about him, right? Him and what he's dealing with and what like he's been doing for the Empire, what he believes that he's doing for the Empire, and Metamorphosis, if it's going to happen for him, could be something where we see him shuttled off towards a prison or whatnot, like a political arrest, like we saw in the midseason finale. But he's actually being shuffled to Wayland, to Mount Tantus. I want to see that. I think he could be a character with his ruthlessness, with his willingness to do what needs to be done to eradicate the clones in some way, to focus on. And there, his TK troopers are also housed there. Why would he not want to be closer to them too, right? I think that would be a really interesting place for him to be. But I don't know if you could fit that in as like a storyline for him, maybe just a tag into another episode. I don't know. I want to see him back. I don't know if the next one is the right one. Then again, it might not even be a Crosshair episode. We are always shooting in the dark here. That a lot of these Bad Batch episodes don't give us something exactly like, oh, here's what's coming next. But
Right.
last season we were a little bit more accurate. This season it's like, we're hoping.
That's for sure. There's really been no cliffhangers outside of the Crosshair Cody Rampart cliffhanger that was never actually picked back up. So we are always shooting from the hip for these episodes, but I like to think that Crosshair and Rampart have their destinies have kind of been intertwined. I don't want to say Rampart is the type of villain that sees, things 20 steps before they happen, but he does send Crosshair off on a mission. Could it be some type of like a loyalty mission to the point where like Crosshair could break Rampart out of prison? Do they become like their own wild card force? How does, what could be that mission? Because now that Rampart is in jail, does the mission still hold? With it, when it's Crosshair, you assume it's some type of assassination type thing. So the fact that he wasn't the assassin in episode 7, like, why was he not the assassin? Why was Rampart using these other modified clones? Like, we never gotten an answer about that. So there's so many things that to be answered about clones, what the Kaminoans are doing on Mount Tantus, what they're using their technology for. Why are they still breeding like these enhanced clones that Rampart is using that none of the other clones have ever seen before? So there's still cloning going on. There's like backdoor cloning going on. There's the politics of the Empire that we always see. I mean, that's one of the things most interesting about the Empire. It's been in canon, it's been in legends, but it's the fact that the Empire becomes more like a real government than the Republic, where the Republic is still that unified kind of happy place. And yeah, people have agendas, but the Empire is like I don't care about every person in the Empire is like, I don't care about the Empire. I care about myself, and I care about how I'm going to climb to the top of the Empire to be the Emperor's like number 2 person or the most trusted person by the Emperor. And we've seen a lot of that in the Bad Batch. So I want to know what Crosshair's mission is at the very least, even if next episode is like some type of like Shatterpoint style Crosshair in the jungle, like on this dark mission that changes him forever. He's a metamorphosis in the jungle and becomes something different by the end. Even if it's just that, I just want to know what Crosshair's doing. Like, why is he not in this show for 8 episodes? That just boggles my mind. It'd be one thing if we never introduce Crosshair in this season, right? Like we go 5, 6 episodes and there's no Crosshair, but to have him be the star of the 3rd episode after the first 2 were Bad Batch episodes, right? It felt like we were doing what we were doing in season 1 again, where we're going to go Bad Batch for 2 or 3 episodes, Crosshair. Bad Batch for 2 or 3 episodes, Crosshair. We haven't done that. So what is he doing? I really want to know. And I would love it to connect back to Rampart. I feel like it's a little much to be like Rampart, like, yeah, I know Palpatine's going to arrest me, so I need you to break me out. If that was going to be the case, then it would be more believable that Palpatine told him, yeah, we're going to fake you being arrested. We're going to send you somewhere else, rather than Crosshair being assigned to somehow rescue him. But maybe there's some weird misplaced sense of loyalty between Crosshair and Rampart. I don't know, but I want to see it. Let us know what you guys think down below. Do you think it's going to be about Rampart, Crosshair, like we think it might? Do you think it's going to be the Bad Batch doing something that changes their perspective on the galaxy? Maybe they go somewhere else where, like, you know, a bunch of people aren't feeding one person, and that one person is really having a hard time, and Omega realizes that, like, you know, not all groups can be good and not all groups can be bad. It could be something like that, because you know we haven't done that episode. Make sure you comment below and let us know what you think the next episode's going to be. Also, like the video if you haven't, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for next week, because next week is a huge week for us, all of us as Star Wars fans. We're getting the Bad Batch continuing with hopefully a big season changing type of episode, but we are also getting the start of The Mandalorian season 3. The first episode is out next Wednesday, and we will be covering it, reviewing it like we do with these Bad Batch episodes, reviewing it full spoilers, and then of course giving it predictions and speculations. We will let you know which day we will be doing what predictions and speculations, because we're going to do separate videos for Bad Batch and for Mandalorian. So keep an eye out for our community section, and in all the upcoming videos we'll let you guys know the latest updates on our channel. But yep, big week next week for all of us. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.